views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you ready?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Now broadcasting live from the After Hours AM studio, Joel Sturgis and Eric Olsen.
Good evening, everybody. This is an extra special edition of After Hours AM. I'm your host, as always, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is a very frustrated
Eric Olsen.
Hey, how you doing, Eric? I could hear the frustration in your voice.
Wow.
Is somebody going to meet a bad end?
I hope so.
You hope so. You hope there's a day of reckoning.
I hope there is a wet, bloody end.
Oh, whoa, a wet, bloody end. Oh, my God, you are angry.
Anyway, technical issues, which there's simply not one thing on earth more frustrating than. My wife, very nicely, very kindly, for Father's Day in advance, got me a new monitor. Because my computer monitor, blows dead ones in the gutter.
Yeah.
All right, so she gets me a new one.
Sure.
Well, she didn't remember to fully hook it up, nor tell me that it wasn't fully hooked up. So here I am, blithely going away. Meanwhile, I had 8 hours of driving. I got to be a chauffeur.
Wow, you're
8
a chauffeur.
hours today.
But Eric,
which did not start my day well. Anyway, I get here, I'm scrambling, trying to get everything done super quick. Get the article up, which I literally published as the show began.
Sure.
You can go check that out on America's Most Haunted. And the monitor's not working. I'm trying to answer Skype, and I'm trying to get going. Meanwhile, our air conditioning died yesterday.
Oh no!
And we finally heard back from the fix-it guy. He won't be here till Monday.
Well, no, of course, because they're contractors. They take forever. Well, anyhow, you know what? No good deed goes unpunished, my friend.
I said that several times today. How did you know that?
I just know. That's just how it rolls. That's how it always rolls. That's why I'm waiting till Father's Day to open my bomb. I'm waiting, man. I'm waiting. I'm going to wait. Hey, man, I saw actually, veering away from the frustration for a minute, I actually sat down and watched 10 Cloverfield Lane last night.
Was that good?
It was good. You've seen it, obviously, but
I saw its movies.
John Goodman, okay, not to give too much away, was a badass, bunker-dwelling, end-of-the-world mofo. That
he was a prepper.
He was a prepper all the way. I've never seen that side of that actor. And I'll tell you what, he pulled it off like a master.
Oh, he's scary. Have you ever seen Oh Brother, Where Art
I did, and it's been years, so I kind of...
He's a really bad guy in that,
yeah, and he pulls off the bad guys so well. I mean, the most serious role recently that I've seen him in, of course, is Red State. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but it's basically, he plays FBI agent, going up against a cult. It was actually a very well done movie, to be honest with you. Kevin Smith film. If you get a chance, go see that. Well, anyhow, but this particular film, he was just so dark and nasty, and there's just parts of that film that actually made me cringe with him in it.
He's an excellent actor.
Yeah.
I actually wrote a review of this. It's on America's Most Haunted when it came out. There's a review right in there, and I said almost exactly what you just said. I said part of the impact of the film is the fact that you have these decades. You have this decades of build-up of mostly good guy role.
Yes.
Good guy appearances.
Roseanne, come on. The TV show Roseanne, we all loved it. It was near and dear to our
Monsters,
heart.
Inc. He's Sully.
Exactly. And to see him be this total, just nasty, diabolical individual, in my opinion. But you know what? I don't know, man. If I was in that same situation, I might be a little on the nasty sides, too. I mean, in fact, I ran into a prepper the other day that I know, and we were talking, and he says, yep, martial law is coming. I said, what do you mean martial law is coming? Martial law is coming. You better
that guy,
stock up.
You know that guy?
Everybody knows that guy. Everybody has a guy in their life that's going,
named Martial Law.
Yes, that at least believes he wishes his name was Martial Law. And he sits there and goes, yep, the end is near. What are you going to do, boy? What are you going to do when the end comes? That kind of thing.
Nothing.
Nothing. I'm probably going to, everybody should stock up on water. Everybody should have a few extra canned goods because natural disasters, whatever. I get that. But these people, they take it to a whole new level. I'm talking tens and thousands of dollars of MREs, man. They are ready.
Well, look, my view is twofold. When you see a movie like that, you realize, anything could happen. And it doesn't have to come from outer space. It doesn't have to come from zombies. It could just be
it could be
some sort of real major natural disaster. Look at the solar flares. Look what that can do.
I got a big scare just the other day. A good friend of mine he studies volcanoes. And we were kind of talking on Facebook, and he says, yeah, but you just wait till Yellowstone takes off. What do you mean? He says, that's a super volcano. What? Yeah, that goes. We're all dead. No. And he says, yeah. Oh, yeah. That blows. Kiss it goodbye, man.
Well.
And I did some looking.
He's
partially
there is a super
right.
volcano under Yellowstone, no doubt about it.
And he's partially right. Oh, my gosh. I totally forgot.
He's partially right.
Yes, he's partially right. But anyhow, just the way he put it. Yep. Might as well not even stock up during that day. We're all dead anyway.
So I agree with you. My view has changed over the years. When we were first starting to hear about the preppers, I don't know how long ago now, 10, 15 years ago.
Sure.
I know it's been going on longer than that.
Oh, it's been going on for a long, long time.
But we started hearing about it. Remember there was the TV show?
Sure.
The Doomsday Preppers and all that.
I remember that.
National Geographic, wasn't it?
Yeah. And they kind of got people ready, people coming to the shop. Well, this is what you got to do to survive.
So, when that was all first breaking, I just thought, what a bunch of loons. It's all tied to, political. They're political extremists, and I kind of wrote it off that way. But then over time, kind of the more you think about it, and, you watch the survival shows, and you watch the post-apocalyptic shows, and kind of the same recurring themes over and over again. It does not hurt to be prepared. No, and the things that you absolutely need, you better have on hand. So you better have water. It would not hurt to have your own generator.
No, well, you know what? We're all vulnerable to a blackout because we're so dependent on electricity. It's not even funny.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Look at what could happen with a massive solar flare. It could knock out all of our power grid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Knock out the power grid on Earth.
Oh, yeah. And not to mention, not to go crazy here, but let's just say the North Korean little dude does get a nuke. And let's just say he decides to do the dreaded EMP blast. And he takes everything out, hypothetically speaking. My God, we're all sitting ducks. Our computers don't work, cars don't work, nothing works, and it'll be mass chaos. It'll be cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
So, therefore, and I got to admit also, even in the midst of all of the gun talk inspired by our latest round of horrifying. Oh my goodness! Just
Yeah, our
be worse.
Our leaders made me mad.
I'm not a gun guy, but look, when I'm watching, when I'm watching The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead, any of the post-apocalyptic shows of any kind, look, man, you're at a huge advantage if you're armed. Let's face it.
Well,
against people, zombies, and for hunting purposes.
Well, exactly. Mainly for hunting purposes, because what happens if that does happen, and that's how you feed your family, is through hunting.
I know.
Which is a very real possibility. I mean, we did it before. And just one solar flare, we could be back to doing that.
And that's what I'm saying. And I'm not a gun guy at all. And I'm pretty well in favor of, kind of maximal gun regulation. I mean, and the more things that happen, the more I feel that way. But the other side of the coin, and believe me, I'm saying it right here and now, I do see the other side of the coin, that there certainly are circumstances where it is very much to your advantage to be armed. Let's face it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the thing of it is there would have been, let's just be completely honest, cards on the table. If there would have been a few, even a handful of armed, trained citizens, this wouldn't have happened.
Well, that's what they always say. That is a very difficult.
Here's a huge caveat that studies do show armed places that do favor guns have much lower crime than places that don't. And that actually comes from our very own resident forensic psychologist, and she's done the studies.
Well, I guess I would have to see it. But moving away from that, because we're just so bludgeoned over the head right now with the horribleness of Orlando, let's face it. And, it's not like the topic of guns is going away.
No, it's not.
I am not in favor of concealed carry, number one. I am not in favor of semi-automatic weapons in the hands of citizens, two. And I am very much in favor
So it's okay that the police have them. Wait. So it's okay that the police have them, the military has them until they turn them on you. And that's when you're going to be going, oh my God, I wish I had a gun.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about that.
Really? It already happened more than once in our country's history.
Not worried about that. That is among the least of my concerns.
Well,
I do not fear my own government, my own military, or even my own police force.
Wow. Okay. Well, anyhow, let's move along.
I don't fear them. I have nothing to fear.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyhow, moving along, let's do the headlines, man. Let's do the haunted headlines.
All righty then. Let us whip it on them. And here we are right now. I was actually writing a post as we spoke, but I'm going to move away from that. You know who's calling me, and you are calling me during my radio show, so cut that out.
That's right.
All right, here we go. All right, so, hey, are you a fan? Do you ever visit the site Scream Factory? Do you know what that is? It's a division of Shout Factory.
Yeah, I've heard of it, and they got some really cool things going on.
They have kind of any and all Blu-rays and DVDs in the horror field. They also get a lot of them very early. They get them before anyone else, and even more cool, they put together these super cool collector's editions that you can't get anywhere else. And they include original artwork, all kinds of cool stuff. And just right now, they're having a big summer sale. And what's coming out next? They have a 24-hour deal on John Carpenter's Village of the Damned.
Wow, man, that is a great film.
And they always have all kinds of stuff. So just go check them out. They're actually a remnant of the old Rhino Records, believe it or not. That sort of transformed into Shout Factory, which is reissues of all kinds of cool rock and roll. And then they added on this other division, which is horror and fright and fantasy and sci-fi oriented films on DVD and Blu-ray called Scream Factory. So check them out. Free ad to you, Scream Factory.
That's right. Okay, now Scream Factory means that we mentioned you on air. We should get a free DVD, right?
Oh, see all kinds of free stuff. But we'll move on. Here we go. All right, so have you heard yet another out in the world of astronomy, which couldn't be much super cooler than it is right now? There's yet another craft that's out there. This one's called Juno, and do you know where Juno is headed?
Where?
To Jupiter.
Really? Finally, Jupiter's going to get some love.
The biggest planet in the solar system.
Well, it's an easy target.
And do you know when it arrives at Jupiter?
On July 4th?
Yes. Independence Day. We arrive at Jupiter. How cool is that?
That is going to be really cool. It'll be cool to see what's on good old Jupiter.
Yeah, it's going to be in orbit for quite some time. It'll be circling. It'll be gathering all kinds of info and taking pictures and whatnot. And then it's going to actually retreat down into the atmosphere where, sadly, it will burn up.
So then they kill it. They're not very nice.
They kill it. They sacrifice
They
it.
sacrifice. Kill, sacrifice, same thing.
Yes, but that
poor
will be
little-
after it's gathered what it's gathered.
Poor little spacecraft that could.
All right, now let's move along. Let's go back to TV. We live in love for TV. All right, pretty cool list, interesting list of the 10 biggest, most important deaths on TV this past season. You know what they left out?
What'd they leave out?
This is the Hollywood Reporter, the paper of record for the entertainment business. You know what they left out?
What'd they leave out? I'm waiting.
Death of Norma Bates on
Really?
Bates Motel.
That's big, too, because that's the turning point for Norman.
She's the star of the show.
Wow. They forget everything, I tell you. You know, just when I have some faith in these places, they totally rip it away from me.
I know.
Totally just rip it away from me. No more faith. It's horrible.
I got you. All right, let's move on. This is we are ghost oriented tonight, so let us zero in.
Well, I think we should be ghost oriented.
We love the ghosts.
We
Yay,
do.
ghosts. All right, here's a story that's on America's Most Haunted. Bunch of stories. 5 stories this week, and it's only Thursday. I am proud of myself.
You're a busy little beaver over there, aren't you?
On the back. So, my friends, at any time, but right now would be a perfect time, go to America's-most-haunted.com. Latest story, other than, of course, the article for tonight's radio show.
And we got a
that is
great
on at this very moment as we speak.
Blockbuster guest tonight, of course.
Blockbuster.
You know.
I'm excited about this
They've
show.
only got a
Saw
little
the first
show out
episode.
there, you
Very
know.
cool. We'll be talking about that momentarily. Ghosts of Shepherdstown. All right, the cat's out of the bag. Anyway, check out this article, and it actually comes from the Lineup, and we love the Lineup. Lineup is one of our partner sites, and it's America's Most Haunted hiking trails. And while hiking trails may not sound all that
Hey,
spooky,
man, nasty things happen on those hiking trails.
oh my, check out the pictures and check out the stories. These are 12 treks that thrill throughout the United States. That's on America's mosthaunted.com, and it comes from our friends, the Lineup. Another story on America's Most Haunted is a sort of a travelogue, but geared toward the supernatural and or paranormal, with ghosts and elves in Iceland.
Really?
Yes.
Cool.
And
I love Iceland.
is the single most, modern anyway, shall we say, first world country where the paranormal and the supernatural are the closest to the surface. They have all kinds of laws, literally laws on the books, that you cannot disturb the elves. And they'll build roads. They'll divert a road around a supposed
I've heard that.
elf
That's nuts.
home. It's kind of...
Doesn't that seem a little quirky? I mean, a little
It's quirky.
crazy to you? Hey, you know what? There's an elf home there. We can't build a road through here. Okay, have they ever seen an elf? All right, come on.
Well, there's pictures.
I mean, well, come on. Has anybody seen an elf walk up to him and say, hey, I got cookies. Follow me.
In Iceland?
Anywhere.
I don't know about lately anyway. Recently. But they believe in them. I'm telling you. Talk to Bjork.
I know.
Talk to Bjork about it.
I know they do, and I respect them for believing in it. I just have a hard time swallowing the whole elf thing.
Well, if you're not into the elves,
Except for the cookies. Love the
They're
cookies.
deeply into ghosts, and the house, the big house, the big home It looks like a house, big house, where Reagan and Gorbachev began the détente that led to the end of the Cold War.
Okay.
Reykjavik, Iceland. That house is haunted by, you guessed it, another lady in white.
Really? They're everywhere, those ladies in white.
They're either in white or in black.
Well, or brown.
There's a brown one.
There is a brown lady. There's that one. Pretty popular picture, that one.
It is a big one.
It is a big one. But no, it's just crazy. That is cool, though, that it's haunted, I guess. But I'm still fixated on the elves. I'm sorry. I can't let that go. Why
these guys really believe in their elves?
Yeah, they do, and I'm going to leave it right there. But
if you buttonhole one, you push them up against the wall, and you really, really press them on it. A lot of them will admit it's more of a cultural thing, but I think it goes very deep.
Can you lay elf traps? That's what I'd want to know.
Well, if they trap them, that would be super bad luck.
Yeah, but then you'd be proving they exist, and you'd become like their hero or something.
Not the elves.
No, not the elves, with the people. They'd be like, oh my God, he is the elf capture guy. Let's all worship him.
I think the citizens of Iceland are more worried about the elves than they are seeking.
Well, that could be it too.
Glory from the humans.
Well, that very well could be.
I'm pretty sure it is.
They don't want any bad things to befall them.
No, they're afraid of them. Now remember, back at Christmas, of course, when we were talking about all the tales, and there are so many stories and tales and paranormal, supernatural, and they do relate, many of them, to holidays, and in particular Christmas. I mean, I did an entire post just about the paranormal Christmas tales of Iceland. I mean, that's how many they are.
There's just tons. It's a really mystical land. It's a great land. It has great tradition, and it really shouldn't poke fun at their elves.
Their elvishness?
Yeah, their elvishness, because without them, there would be no Shire.
Well, I kind of. I get where you're coming. All right, let's move on. Let's go back into the world of archaeology, and this involved ghosts too. It's gotta, All right, so they've been trying to figure out what these just bizarre, macabre, like shelving, essentially, with a bunch of masks.
I'm looking at this.
Made from human skulls, and they're trying to figure out what is the point of this. What is it? Who are these?
The scare away elves.
Why did they do this to these people? So what they finally figured out is these were honored enemies. So these were noble warrior enemies who were sacrificed, of course, because they sacrificed everyone. Those Aztecs.
Well, they did. Those crazy Aztecs.
They were so bloody down there.
Well,
it wasn't just the Aztecs.
Yeah.
It's the Incas and the Mayas. They were a bunch of human sacrificing.
They weren't a bunch of wimps back then. They didn't cower up blood. They went right into it. They killed each other like it was nothing.
So they honored these sacrificed enemy noble warriors by making masks out of their skulls.
All right,
and then they wore them, of course.
Well, yeah. I mean, what's the sense of having a mask if you're not going to wear it?
Exactly.
Ed Gein did the same thing. He got ridiculed for it.
They
do it, and they got go, great, yeah, you made a mask of your enemies. Yeah.
There was a strongly worded letter or two sent to him.
Oh, yeah. He got yelled at a few times.
Condemning that behavior.
I think so. I think there might have been a letter sent.
But this was a different time and a different place. All right, let's move back into Ghostville. So check out this next one. What do you think of this being of pure light?
Wow, looks like a lot of pareidolia going on there.
You think so? You don't think that's a being of pure light?
I don't know. It's awfully focused. There's really, it looks very much like it's just a happenstance kind of capture. Here I am. I'm at the right angle. Very much looks like a ray of sunshine coming through a window.
Ah, well, that could well be. And by the way, my friends, if you would like to see all these pictures that we're talking about, and my, oh my, they are magnificent images, go to @AMHaunted on Twitter. We are on the America's Most Haunted Twitter feed right now, and we are scrolling through it like deranged mofos. And once again, that is @AMHaunted on Twitter. Go check it out. All right, another ghost story. There are 3 very famous ghosts that reside in Los Angeles's Griffith Park.
I've heard that story before. It's actually a pretty cool story.
There's three.
There's three of them.
Three cool ghosts. And look at that image. Isn't that a great? That's a real picture. That's from 1890 something.
That looks super cool. It looks like it was almost painted. Yeah, I mean,
it's perfect. It's a great photograph, is what it is. It's
beautiful.
Really well composed.
It is.
Yeah, Mr. Griffith. You know what his name was?
What?
Griffith. He donated the land.
His parents are extremely imaginative with their names, weren't they?
Yeah, it's like Sirhan.
Yeah. Or like a new guy once named Pete Peterson.
Oh, well.
It's like,
but that's not exactly the same.
No, but
Peterson.
Well, come on,
It'd be like Sirhan.
Well, exactly. Makes no sense to me. The same first and last name. Come on.
All right, so did you hear this thing? Mark Zuckerberg was taking questions. Did you hear about this?
I did. I heard something about it. I saw a blurb on it somewhere, and he denies that he's a reptilian, by the way.
Well, of course
he's not an overlord.
Because he's a reptilian.
Well, of course. They're always going to deny it. They're never going to come right out and say I'm a reptilian. Do I think he's a reptilian? No, I do not.
All of he and his fellow reptilian overlords have denied that they are reptilian.
Exactly.
And that's how you know.
Oh, my God. I've heard so many stories about reptilians in the White House, yada, yada, yada. Oh, please.
It's silly.
It really is.
All right, we'll move on.
Okay.
All right, here's a story that's actually should be near and dear to both of our hearts.
At least there was beer.
There was actually a study, a very serious study by the government that was seeing what kind of packaging and what kind of foodstuffs survive nuclear explosion.
And I love the fact that beer survives. I love that. I love that because, if
it's untouched,
all else fails, crack a bud, man. Just sit back and
but a beer.
It's Miller time. Oh, come on.
I prefer craft. You knew that. I mean, you could guess that. I'm not going to drink America's most homogeneous beers.
You're not going to go to the liquor store. You're not going to. Wait a minute here. I just lost a whole. Wait a second. I love you like family, right? We've been hosting this show a long time together. But you just can't hit me with this craft beer thing. I mean, I like I like a growler as much as the next guy. But come on. Sometimes you just got to sit down and crack a Bud Light.
Oh, my. Never in a million years.
What?
No Bud. No Miller.
Then you weren't a Grain Belt man or a Pabst Blue Ribbon person.
No, none of that. No mass-produced.
Even when you were a kid, when you were a young man, an Old Milwaukee never crossed your palate?
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm talking about me now.
Oh, you now. Okay, now you're a craft beer connoisseur.
Yeah, I mean, I just, eventually outgrew.
But would you drink a Guinness?
American cheap beer.
Would you drink a Guinness?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although I'm not really honestly, I'm not a big fan of Guinness Stout, which is obviously their claim to fame.
Yes, and it's so thick and frothy.
That is not anywhere near my favorite stout, I got to admit.
Ah, yes. Leinekugels puts out a good product. Now that we're dropping all these names to these companies.
I don't like the shandy, though. I don't want any of the fruit beer.
Oh.
And I don't like wheat beer.
I would have guessed you as a fuzzy navel kind of guy, or even a margarita once in a while.
No.
No? Okay.
Not unless I have to.
Yeah.
No, actually, what is it? What makes it so sweet and tangy? A margarita. It gives me a stomachache.
There's a lot into it. I used to make my own, and
tequila.
A lot of tequila.
Generally, I avoid these days.
Yeah, tequila. It's called tequila for a reason.
It's not your friend. All right, let's move along. So anyway, yes, good news. Your beer will survive.
Isn't that a beautiful thing, folks?
Apocalypse.
Isn't that just a beautiful thing?
And I will say here and now, if there is a nuclear apocalypse and all that's left is Bud Miller, I will drink it.
Well, you better. Otherwise,
So there.
Yeah, well, there. That's comforting to know that you wouldn't turn your nose at it. While the rest of us are living the high life, so to speak.
I used to like Miller High Life quite a bit, but that was like 30 years ago.
I just
35
see now
40 years ago.
Man, when it comes to beer, You know what? I've had lots of beers in my life, but it's nothing to this day beats a free beer.
Well, that's true. That's gets factored in as well. All right, let's move along.
We got 30 seconds.
Check out this story. You got to see it. Go to @AMHaunted. There's a guy who lived for actually a fairly extended period of time as a goat. And he actually put on goat boots on his feet and goat hands. So he ran around on all fours.
Did he get into your craft beer? I mean, what the?
Well, maybe he did. But look at him all falling over with his face buried in the grass. He's disgusted. You know what he decided, though, on this experience? Being a goat sucks.
I would have to imagine. Being a goat is not all it's cracked up to be.
Goat sucks.
Don't listen to your friends. Being a goat is hard. It's a hard life.
That is not easy.
We gotta.
Remember when SpongeBob decided he wanted to go live in the jellyfish fields and be free and wild?
Do.
It was one of the first seasons.
I do.
Boy, he decided that sucked too.
We're all going to become goats now after we drink our growlers. Well, on that note, everybody, we have to go to break. We come back. We're going to have your emails read by Miss Kirsten Klang. True Encounters of the Paranormal. Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com.
It's your ideas, work, and creativity that make it your yard. At ACE, we're here to help with hoses and sprinklers to nurture growth, gardening tools for the shape of good things to come, even the right fertilizer and bug killers to make the grass a little greener. You'll find it all now at ACE, your place, with everything you need for your yard, plus helpful advice, almost like we're right there. ACE,
the helpful place.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Are you hungry? Hungry as a gremlin? Here's gremlin cereal.
Gremlins, bite after bite. What a tasty way to satisfy a gremlin appetite.
Gremlins is a deliciously sweet, crunchy cereal that satisfies the hungry little gremlin that's in all of us.
Gremlins, bite after bite. What a tasty way to satisfy a gremlin appetite.
Gremlin cereal is part of this complete breakfast.
Gremlin, yum yum.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
And now, the final crowning touch to this cake. Take a bite.
Chocolate.
To do with your time, something to do with your peace of mind, something to do alone, nothing to do, so won't you pick up the phone? You turn me on.
Welcome back to After Hours AM. Hey, I want to thank all the independent music makers that have flooded After Hours AM with submissions to be played live, Eric. You've even seen a few of those emails. Hey, play my stuff, man. We want to get on After Hours AM. Hey, so
I am getting more emails these days. That is an interesting discovery. Yes, it's a good sign. We like communication.
Absolutely, and thank you again to all the independent bands that have signed on and want their stuff heard. And you know what? You keep sending it, we'll keep playing it, provided you don't have any naughty words or any of that kind of stuff. You are joining
such masters, such monsters of the field as Elliptical.
Yeah, exactly. And we will be playing some more Elliptical. Don't worry, folks. They're not gone. But in the meantime, we have something super cool. We have your stories, your paranormal tales, things that will scare each and every one of us, as read by Miss Kirsten Klang. All right, Kirsten, what you got for us?
I got one from Pat Ferrulli, the one I promised to you guys last week. He is from Dallas, Texas.
Good old Dallas, Texas. I'm familiar with that area.
Yes, he actually gave me his location. I hope people do that in the future. But right now, he's the one we know where he's at. So
all right, no home address, though.
Right. Well, we're going to talk about Pat and Pat in the olden days, which is back in the summer of 1976. Life was good.
Were those the olden days?
Was it really that long ago? Was it truly that long ago? Come on.
I was 6 years old.
Yes, I was 2.
Life was good.
Yeah,
life was good.
Life was grand.
I was driving with.
I was sitting in the corner, pooping my pants.
You sound younger. That means you're my wife's age. You sound younger.
Hey, man, in 76, I was 2 years old, sitting in the corner, probably crapping my pants. All right, let's just be honest.
76? Oh, boy, I was old.
How old were you?
Well, Pat Ferrulli was driving with his brother and some friends. They were having a good time together. They were in a good-sized vehicle, which they were back then. So 6 of them packed into a vehicle and headed off to do some partying. Because that's what they like to do, and nobody cared back then if kids were cruising around. Anyway, it was in California, and it was summer.
Sure.
To make it kind of short, he says, we were driving on the coast Highway 1 towards Santa Cruz. And then there was this guy hitchhiking on the side of the road. So we pulled over to give him a ride. We looked back, and he wasn't there, but we didn't think much of it. We turned the car back around to pick him up. Then he was there. So we stopped next to him. He looked into the car and said, you going my way? Then he disappeared. The guy just vanished into thin air.
Wow.
We all saw him disappear. We were freaked out. The girls were screaming. He looked so real. My twin brother, Mike, saw him best. They all said it looked like his face was melting.
No.
We didn't know what to think, so we turned around again to look for him. We looked all over for the guy. We even got out of the car to look. He was totally gone.
Under the car, over the car.
But now Lenny Kravitz was there, and he started singing, Are You Gonna Go My Way?
But this
wrote a song about it.
Spirit Walker of Highway 1, I guess is what they're calling him. I've heard that Spirit Walker, and I've heard the Hitcher.
Sure.
Hitchhiker. Yep.
Wow.
Highway 1.
So
are you familiar with Highway 1 at all?
I am. I'm from California.
Well, did you ever see hitchhikers, Eric?
Real ones? Or
Okay, ones that disappear on you, okay.
Spirits.
No. You'd have to stop and find out.
Good point. Yes, I have seen real hitchhikers.
Well, sure, we all have, but I'm talking about the disappearing variety.
Well, I know.
Have you ever seen one where you went, where the hell did that guy go? In reality, he probably just went off the road to go pee in a bush.
Exactly. My response to that question would be no. Go ahead, Kirsten.
All right. Well, this one is...
Sorry. Is that over?
Yeah.
Oh, that was great. I loved it. It was so short.
I've got... Well, this one's a little longer. And
spooky and scary. I loved it.
Yep.
All right, I'll be quiet.
I got one from Monica.
I'll be quiet.
In 2001, 2003, I lived in the basement of a house on Melvin Avenue with my boyfriend in his mother's house. The house was over 100 years old. One of the most memorable things about living there was that you never felt alone. I was told by my boyfriend, let's call him Jim, that he had run-ins with some ghosts upon first moving in. Jim and his brother Jack lived upstairs in the attic. It was converted
Sounds like a song. Jim and Jack living upstairs. Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
One of the first nights in the house, Jim woke up and needed to use the bathroom. He walked down the stairs. He felt a presence around him. He got scared, started to walk faster. As he got to the bottom of the stairway, he felt hands grab him all over his body.
Oh.
He started screaming for his mom. His mom and sister came to see what was wrong, and he told them what happened. They could still see the red marks on his arms and legs where he had been grabbed.
He actually threw a, "Hey, Mommy, help me," out there.
They were not gentle.
Well, barely.
Well, I guess the next day he had bruises from the attack. And that was confirmed to the girlfriend later on, I guess.
Huh.
Needless to say, he refused to sleep up there. He slept on the couch pretty much until they finished a remodel downstairs in the basement a few weeks later.
And Mommy did nothing.
A few weeks before they met. So.
Okay. Did Mommy help him at all? Does he say?
Just let him get groped by a ghost.
What kind of mother does that? I'm just gonna let her have his way with you. And when he's done, he'll leave. He'll be tired for the night, and he'll leave me alone.
Then Monica says, here's where I come into the story. Everybody thinks basements are creepy. They're dark. They smell weird. When you're a kid, they're darn scary. But this basement was hands down the creepiest one I've ever been in. Okay. Like I said, you never felt like you were alone. When alone, you would hear and feel things that weren't there. A shuffling footstep, a breath on your neck, something brushing your arm. I remember smelling a man's cologne, an old school musky brute kind of smell. Later, I heard that sometimes other people would smell that too, and they thought it was Jim's grandfather's spirit watching over them. I even recall a few times walking down the stairs feeling terrified that something would grab me. Then I would smell that cologne and feel safe again. I realized later that everything that had happened, his grandfather had been watching over them.
Huh.
The next day, I had my first physical encounter with something evil in Jack's room. Jim and I used to fight a lot. His brother Jack wasn't home much, so I would just go lay in
his
brother's room. Yeah. She'd lay in his room, lay on the futon and read. She was just laying there on this futon, stewing about something, when she felt something was in the room. At first, I thought maybe Jim was at the door trying to give me a scare. Then I heard a creaking sound next to me on the boards of the futon. To my horror, I could see the imprint of someone sitting next to me. I opened my mouth to scream and nothing came out. I went to sit up. I felt pressure on my chest and arms. I couldn't move a muscle. I felt like I was being smothered. Finally, I felt the pressure ease. I screamed for Jim to help me. He thought I was pulling his leg and trying to scare him because we were fighting. But I never went back in that room alone.
Wow. I guess I wouldn't go back alone either.
Me either.
That'd be a little freaky right there.
But it gets weirder.
It does get weirder. Oh, boy.
Here comes the circus.
Oh, the circus, you say. Okay.
One night around 2 a.m., Jim and I were trying to sleep. I started to hear first circus music. The old school kind that they play at the movies. Then the laughter of children. But there were no kids that lived in that house. Jim says, "You hear that?"
Just the ones in the basement.
Yeah, what is that? What's that?
Just the dead ones in the basement.
We were both too scared to even move. There was no TV or radio downstairs that could have been playing that music. Eventually it stopped and we went to sleep. The next morning, Jim's mother approached him. She was angry with us. She wanted to know why we had company at 2 a.m., music playing, and whose kids we had over. She was the kind of person that avoided confrontation, but she was pretty annoyed. I guess she didn't get much sleep. She didn't believe us when we told her what had happened from our point of view. His mom eventually sold the house. I still wonder to this day if the activity continues there. Why circus music? Who are the laughing children? I felt like there were many spirits in that house, at least 3 that I know of. Why there? Did something happen there?
Sure.
Who knows? Who knows what could have happened? But they were angry, mean-spirited ghosts living there, and you couldn't pay me to live there again, she said.
Huh. Wow.
Ooh.
Good story.
Ooh. Music.
These are great. I'm digging them.
Circuses in the basement.
Well, sure. Gotta have a
This
circus
one's
movie.
another little shorty. We got roadside assistant ghost. That kind of goes with not the first one, but it's real short. This is submitted by Bob Simona.
All right, Bob. Thank you.
This was told to me by a friend after her husband had gotten a flat tire beside a cemetery that had a reputation for less than friendly ghost encounters. He had pulled over after he'd noticed there was a problem with the car. He got out and walked around it to see what the problem was. He saw that the rear passenger side tire was completely flat. It was late at night, and he felt creeped out by where he was, had the feeling he was being watched from the overgrown cemetery. He got into the driver's seat, called roadside assistance, waited for a half an hour. When the roadside assistance van finally pulled up, he told them what the problem was. They both looked around to the passenger side of the car, and they found that the tire wasn't flat. He has no explanation. He heard and felt nothing, and swears that tire was definitely flat.
Huh.
Oh, how the heck did that happen?
Oh my goodness, that reminds me of the hobo arm story.
the hobo arm story? Wait, what? There's a hobo arm story out there?
Yes, this happened to me. It's absolutely 100% true.
You saw hobo arm?
No, I rolled up my car window very quickly and snapped off a hobo arm, which then traveled with us.
What? Oh, wait. Now you gotta tell it. You just cannot lay out. You decapitated a poor hobo. And
well, that would have been his head. This was his arm.
Well, okay. You ripped off his arm. All right.
No, not really. I made it all up.
Oh,
but it is a great story. I used to tell to the two younger kids, and man, oh man, did they get freaked out. The gist of it was this. We were driving. We were on a family vacation. I'm at a rest stop. And, we go in, we use the rest stop. I think this one had some food or whatnot. And we came out. It was dark. Homeless guy, in the old days you called them hobos.
Sure.
It was a little less pejorative,
Yeah.
Look, there's a hobo.
A hobo.
Oh, look, he's a hobo.
God love the hobos.
Homeless guy. Ooh, they're homeless. Ooh, they smell like
yes,
urine.
they're resident.
They're homeless.
Yes, they're resident challenged Americans.
Yes, exactly. There was a homeless guy on Naked and Afraid last night.
Then he should have fit right in. He should have been
really well. He won. He's like, "What do you expect? I'm homeless."
Yeah, he should have fit right. It should have been just like I homed to him. Oh, wait a minute, because it is.
Man, this is nothing. I always go around all naked.
Nothing,
and afraid.
man. This is the way I do it every day. Look at me. Come on, and I'm homeless.
Partner, man, she blew out in like 10 minutes. No, this sucks.
Naked and afraid. That's scary on its own. Some of those people should not be naked on television. Okay.
No, they really shouldn't. And they don't do a really great job of. You could tell as each episode wears on, they care less and less about bleeping them out.
Yeah, they're
showing more and more. Oops. Oh well.
Yeah. Who cares?
We've seen that guy for an hour, man. We can see a little more. Who cares?
Yeah, I can just see
anyway, the gist of my tale was a hobo was visiting us, and suddenly he turned threatening, and my window was down. He reached in. I rolled it up super quick. We didn't notice. And I peeled out of there absolutely as quickly as possible. Didn't notice that maybe his arm got cut off and was kind of laying on the floor of the car between the door and my seat. And maybe we noticed when we got out and it rolled onto the ground at the next stop.
Man.
Maybe that happened, maybe it didn't.
Are you trying to traumatize children? Is that your goal?
Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't.
Yeah, that's traumatizing.
All right, I'll be quiet now. Back to you, Kirsten.
So, where do I go with that?
Enough with hobos and arms.
I've got one more story. Do we have time for one more?
We got all sorts of time. Don't worry. We got more time than money.
All right, here's the last one I probably have for tonight. The night that all hell broke loose, submitted by Laura.
Ooh, not all hell.
Laura, yes. I was in my mid-30s and working midnight shift at a nursing home in western Kentucky. I haven't been in nursing for many years, but I've never experienced anything like I did that one summer night, June of 2011. I can assure you that this story I'm about to tell you is completely
Of course it is. Why else would you be writing us?
It all began with a normal night doing paperwork, making my rounds. As the night grew, a coworker and I sat down for a lunch break. We'd been on break for about 10 minutes. We saw something run from one side of the room into our nursing station. It was about 4 feet tall and it was a shadow. For a moment, we sat there in the shock of what we'd just seen. I'd always heard sounds, but I'd never seen anything like this in our facility. So after we finished our break, we went back to work, and as we did, a big storm came. We were preparing to get our residents up to go into the hallway as we were instructed to do. So I began to open a door. When I did, it flew open on its own. A cold gust of air came with it. The hair on my arm rose up, and the door across the hall began to open and slam shut. So I ran, got my nurse, and she saw what was happening. We ran to the nursing station to call our boss, and as soon as she walked in the door to the nursing station, the door slammed shut, it locked, and she started screaming.
Oh no, it's locked!
The door. Unlock the door! And when she did, I walked in, had 3 scratch marks on the back of my left arm.
Uh-oh. We all know what that means. Not good stuff right there.
This went on for about 30 minutes. The chairs in the dining room started to fall on the floor, and a few of them got thrown as well. But after that, it all stopped. My nurse and I were scared to death.
That's all it did? Let's throw a few chairs around? That's it? All hell breaks loose and that's it?
Nursing home, this is just normal stuff.
Wait. It says the night all hell broke loose, and it threw a chair.
They were throwing chairs.
That's it.
It's plural. Chairs.
That's it. That doesn't mean hell broke loose. That means it doesn't like home furnishings. Throwing chairs. All hell broke loose. I saw a chair shudder.
Yeah, I just hope there weren't residents in the chairs.
Now that would have been a whole lot cooler. Hey,
Everyone knows
Myrtle's flying.
Chairs may shiver, but they never shudder.
No. And they weeble, but they never wobble, and they never definitely fall.
No, never has happened once.
Not one time. So all hell break loose. Okay, she gets locked in this room. She has 3 scratches on her arm. Going, wow. Man, it's bad for you. And then a chair flies around for a split second. And that's their idea of all hell breaking loose. I was expecting demons from hell coming up going, we're here together, residents. Oh. I was expecting that in the story, okay? No offense. I love you all, and I love all the stories. But, I'm just saying, and keep them coming, by the way. But we won't ridicule you too hard. But here's the deal. Eric, wouldn't you agree? Come on.
Well, one man's all hell breaking loose is another man's nap.
Yeah. This is true.
You gotta remember, this is a nursing home. Pudding is exciting at a nursing home.
That's right.
This is true.
Where are my shoes? That's what happens at the nursing home.
Where's my hobo arm?
My shoes!
Where's my hobo arm? Where'd that ever go? Come on! I just saw a guy from Cleveland.
You took my hobo arm!
Yes, I have a story. Brian...
I'll beat you senseless with my hobo arm.
with that hobo arm. Don't you worry about a thing.
Young whippersnapper, get off my lawn!
Young whippersnapper.
Get off my lawn, you kid!
Jeez. Oh, I got a cool one just for showtime. This is a black-eyed kid story. In 1988, Brian, he gives his last name. I'm not going to say your last name, Brian. He was at home, and his father was a law enforcement officer. And 2 preteens came to their door who wanted a ride home, and to come in, of course, to use the phone to get a ride home. His father, being a police officer, turns to Brian and says, you need to go upstairs in your room, and no matter what you hear, you do not open your door. No matter what. So he's, I better go upstairs, according to his letter. I better get upstairs. My dad, I've never heard my dad this way before. Evidently, there had been a lot of calls about these black-eyed kids. And he goes upstairs, he scurries upstairs, closes his door, and of course he says, I put my ear, like every other kid in the world, against my door so I could hear what was going on downstairs. My father opened the front door and said, you need to get out of here now. I don't know what you are or who you are, but you need to leave. At that moment, I heard more shoving and thrashing, and almost sounded like a fight had ensued. I came downstairs only to find my father bloodied and the children gone. That's Brian's story.
Wow.
I know, right?
Are you sure this wasn't the Black Eyed Peas?
Well, yeah, that's right. I would have expected more. Like, yeah, I mean, come on, But hey, you know what? Still a good story. Whether it's true, whether it's not, I don't have no way of knowing. But thank you, Brian, for the compelling story. And of course, this black-eyed kid is a fairly new phenomena. I mean, I've heard some stories about it. I've never seen a black-eyed child, except for my own, of course, when they get angry with me. But how about you guys? You guys hear anything in the black-eyed kid front?
I've heard a few. I've heard a few things on that, but not. It's really few and far between with the black-eyed kids.
Sure.
Usually they're like traveling. I've noticed that there's some stories like there's a car full of kids. They pull up and they all got black eyes, and then off they go again.
Wow, Eric, you heard anything?
Well, I've heard it from the horse's mouth.
You did. The creator of the black-eyed children, right?
Brian Bethel, isn't it? Brian Bethel, who's a reporter down in Texas, I think it was.
Really?
Right?
Okay. Yeah. That
he
does
had the original experience, and he wrote it up, and it became very famous. Became, of course, internet meme, and went from there. So interviewed him. Boy, he is absolutely convinced. He told the story many.
We got to have him on the show.
Specific details. Oh yeah, he's a great guest. He really is.
Yeah, we got to get him on the show because
he doesn't know what the hell, but he thinks it was real for sure.
I would like to talk black-eyed kids
or aliens or
because
what.
I get tons of emails, black-eyed kid stuff, and I have yet to see any conclusive evidence of their existence, to be honest with you.
No, I haven't seen any evidence.
Everybody has cameras on their cell phones, right? Why are these people not flashing pictures?
Kid. Yeah.
When they're at your door.
You're not going to take a picture of that or anything.
Exactly. What is it? And they allegedly stand there for hours. It's not like you don't have time to take a picture.
Oh, look. There's a threatening young individual who has no irises or pupils. So I think I'll do anything but take a picture.
Yeah, exactly. I'll do anything but take a picture of these people. Why not? What do I have to lose? You know what? Take a picture.
Take a picture.
Submit
I'll take a picture of his butt.
Take a picture of his butt. Is that a black down there too? What's going on? Why are you so angry? Nah, this is a new phenomena. I mean, within the last 20 years anyway.
Yeah.
It seems like it's kind of popped up, and it just seems I kind of put that in the same ilk as other things that made its rounds that have turned out
Slender Man, of course.
Oh, well, exactly.
Maybe,
and that's what
some you can tattoo that part of your eye too.
Well, that is a rumor I have heard. You could tattoo that part of your eye, but would you really want to?
God,
I couldn't see a kid letting anybody do it, but it can be done.
Would you really want to tattoo your eye?
No.
No. Well, anyhow, that being said, what's going on over there in mystical Minnesota? Anything new and exciting? What are you tracking? What's going on?
We've been hitting the local cemeteries lately because the weather's quite nice. The bugs are a little bit bad, but we've been getting out a little bit and have some new stuff on the page. And Jill just brought to my attention that dummy me forgot to reopen my page after I had a lurker. So
a lurker.
Lurker.
What's a lurker?
I reopened the page, so take a look at Mystical Minnesota Paranormal on Facebook. We're there, and there's instructions just a little ways down the page. Take a look at our albums. Our team members have produced some nice stuff for you guys to look at.
Yeah, they sure have. There's some very, very cool pictures you have. Now, more importantly, I shouldn't say more importantly. That sounds horrible. How can people ship you their stories for After Hours AM? What's the best way to get those to you?
The best way to get them to me is at
carrier pigeon.
Yes. Smoke signal.
Smoke signal. Carrier pigeon. Yeah. Or just bring them to me.
I prefer the string and a wire.
Kirsten. Yeah, just bring them on over. Anywhere around the country. Come on over to my house.
Yeah, drop them right up. I'll give you her address. Don't worry. I know exactly where she lives. And she really doesn't mind.
At mysticalminnesota.com is the address. And drop your lovely stories. We'd love to have them. And they're quite well written. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. A lot less rewriting for me. Appreciate it.
Tonight was great.
Make sure you put your name on and where you're from.
Yes. Impactful, spooky, scary, well presented by our very own Kirsten.
Yeah.
Did you know that my oldest daughter is named Kristen.
Oh, look at that.
Wow.
Look at that. Uh-huh.
I used to get called Kristen all the time. You know that?
Wow.
I believe it, and
So-
she has been called Kirsten, and
wow, and she hates it. Don't do that to me. Yeah.
Oh, I don't even care. I got over it.
Well,
After,
you know,
they
we all-
didn't even know that name existed really when I had it.
Exactly.
You know, back
Well,
in the
Kirsten,
early 70s.
Thank you so much for bringing us the emails from the masses, their haunted stories.
You are welcome, guys.
Join us next week, of course, to hear more of Kirsten and the haunted tales from you. But on that note, we got to run to Fox News. We come back, man. Who do we got coming to join us right after the break, man? Who is it?
Elizabeth Saint and Bill Hartley of Ghosts of Shepherdstown, the new Nick Groff produced and co-starring exploratory paranormally show on Destination America.
Don't go anywhere. Be right back right after this.
Fox News Radio, I'm Paul Stevens. President Obama and Vice President Joe Biden both heading to Florida for a visit with survivors and a show of solidarity after last weekend's mass shooting in Orlando. More live now from the White House with Fox's John Decker.
White House spokesman Josh Earnest said the president, who will be joined by the vice president, will use this visit to make clear that the country stands with the people of Orlando and also stands with Orlando's LGBT community.
He's offering a message of condolence and comfort on behalf of the American people. And the president takes that responsibility quite seriously. This is a solemn responsibility.
The president has increasingly taken on this role of comforter-in-chief as mass shootings have brought him to communities like Newtown, Connecticut, and San Bernardino, California. 49 people were killed in Orlando, making it the worst mass shooting in American history. Paul?
John, the coordinator for Chicago's upcoming Gay Pride Parade, saying organizers will hire dozens more off-duty police officers than they did last year in the wake of the weekend massacre in Florida. Testimony on Capitol Hill today on the growing threat of lone wolf terror attacks in the U.S. More from Washington with Fox's Rachel Sutherland.
Paul, CIA Director John Brennan told the Senate Intelligence Committee that progress has been made in the fight against ISIS, but he cautioned the group remains
formidable, resilient, and largely cohesive enemy, and we anticipate that the group will adjust its strategy and tactics in an effort to regain momentum.
Brennan says he expects ISIS to rely more on guerrilla tactics, including high-profile attacks outside territory it holds, and that the only way to reduce or destroy the group is to take back its real estate in Iraq and Syria. Paul?
Rachel, a 52-year-old man under arrest after British Labour Party lawmaker Joe Cox was shot and seriously wounded earlier today. Groups on both sides of the referendum as to whether Britain should leave the EU have suspended their campaigns for the time being after that attack. And you're listening to Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey? Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. You know, 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
I'm a mom. And just like millions of other women, that's why I own guns. We're responsible, we're law-abiding, and we're everything that makes America strong. Every day we're willing to use a firearm to defend our families. But the media will never tell those stories. If a mom puts a gun to the face of a home-invading thug and makes him run for his life, the story gets buried. But if she's unarmed and murdered, the cameras will be at the scene before the police. It's time for moms like me to speak out. We are the majority. We demand the freedom to defend our families. And we challenge the media to tell the truth about our rights. I'm the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
Only in the forest can you see this. But nothing beats the moment you see that.
Cool!
That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. And you might just see this. Visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to After Hours AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
Is the beautiful and sexy Eric Olsen.
That's true.
Well, I had to, you are quite the man.
I am. What can I say?
You are quite the example of a man, okay? I am just, now I'm only kidding, of course, but we have a heck of a guest tonight, or two of them, rather. Two killer guests, so to speak, and wow, I was actually blown away. And, I'm pretty jaded at this point, pretty hardcore when it comes to paranormal programming, okay? Because, you and I, we get email after email after email. Watch my YouTube video. It's great. And we watch a YouTube video and we're like, oh, God, it sucks. And then,
not even that it usually sucks. It's just that it's kind of repetitive.
But then you ask them, how do you tell these people?
In the groove, it's kind of repetitive.
But then you ask these people, what goes from back in my head, of course, is how do I tell this person your video is not as good as you think it is, in a really constructive and nice way? But that, on the other side of the coin, we have this great show that's hitting, of course, Destination America with two of the greatest out there. I mean, it's really, and Nick is involved, Nick Groff, good friend of ours, that we've talked. I've known Nick probably 15 years, I swear to God. And we have Elizabeth Saint here with us, as well as Bill Hartley. Why don't you go ahead and tell everyone a little bit about him there, Eric?
Well, I will. In Destination America's all-new series, Ghosts of Shepherdstown, cameras follow paranormal superstar Nick Groff, Bill Hartley, paranormal tech guru.
Does he ever stop and go, superstar?
And Elizabeth Saint, a paranormal sensitive, an electrical engineer, truth be told.
I know, right?
And use their many and various skills to help residents restore peace to their homes and find out why Shepherdstown is such a hotbed for hauntings. And both Joel and I have seen the first episode, which premieres this Sunday night on Destination America at 10/9 Central. And it is really, really good. I was absolutely pulled into it. When I'm watching on the computer, I'm doing a preview before the show, or I'm going to write about it or whatever, and I find that more often than not, I kind of keep looking at the time. Okay, 20 minutes left. Okay, 15 minutes left. That was not the case. In fact, it was over too soon. I said, no,
yeah,
it cannot be over. You cannot. I must watch you again. That's how good it was. And it was really, really interesting because you are pulled into this town. And it is considered by many the most haunted town in America. It's very small, only 1,700 people. They have a police force of only 5 people. And most of their 911 calls, at least recently in this time frame we're dealing with, weren't crimes. They were paranormal reports. So the police department felt absolutely overwhelmed. And the chief of police, Michael King, brought in this team, this dream team. He assembled himself, I guess. At least that's what the show implies. Nick, Bill, and Elizabeth. And we welcome Bill and Elizabeth to the show. Let me give a really quick little bit of background on each of them. Elizabeth Saint is a renowned paranormal sensitive. The manifestations she first experienced as a child led her to pursue a life dedicated to explaining the unexplainable. Being struck by lightning on 2 separate occasions made her step back and say, "Holy mackerel, I'm unlucky."
It reminds me of that movie Benjamin Button. Remember that guy?
But it also sparked, get it? An interest in electricity.
Oh, you didn't use spark in that, did you? That poor lady. Okay.
I did. So she is a combination electrical engineer, She's a sensitive. And looking at her site, she's also a lovely actress.
Yes.
Oh, my.
Yes, she is.
All of the above in one body. Hard to believe. One body and mind, all mashed together by electricity.
Yes, as it were.
Right, Bill Hartley, who is the paranormal tech guru of the team. Bill's introduction to the paranormal began during childhood, growing up in a house that was wrought with unusual paranormal activity. As an adult, he became a Civil War reenactor and founded the Fighting 57th North Carolina, in which he reenacted as his ancestor, First Sergeant Jonas Hartzell. Interesting stuff. And there's a bunch more stuff. You can read it. Go to America's-most-haunted.com and check out the article about this very show. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth and Bill. What a pleasure.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, yeah, I mean, I apologize for my colleague there with the electricity jokes, but, all joking aside, no, I'm kidding, of course.
It's okay. Elizabeth gets quite a charge out of it.
It was, there we go.
God.
But the show premise, okay, it really, really grabbed me, and I imagine it grabbed you guys, obviously, as well, because you're on the shows. What did you guys think when Nick came to you, or the producers and all the makers of the show, and more importantly, the police force came to you and said, "Hey, we want you to investigate our entire town"? What was your thinking? Did you guys feel it was really a daunting challenge, or did you guys kind of just jump in both feet?
Well, for me, I got to tell you, being that I am pretty much a skeptic to all things.
Yep.
I mean, you come to me and say, "We got a whole town for you to investigate," and I'm like, okay, sure.
Sure, yeah, I'll get right on it. I'm down for that. Let's find out.
Yeah.
And it's good to be a skeptic, because I am as well. I'm a very healthy skeptic.
Well, you have. I think if you're anything but, then you really shouldn't be in this field, because, I mean, if you go in, guns ablazing, thinking every place is haunted, then you're obviously not trying to find any reasons for why it could be happening outside of the paranormal.
Well, exactly. And I always told people I'm 50% believer, 50% skeptic, but I'm never a cynic. Big difference.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Elizabeth, when you got the call, being a sensitive, having to deal with an entire haunted town, did you feel like you're in for overload, so to speak?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't really know what to expect, but that was what intrigued me to be a part of the project, was the fact that we'd be able to investigate an entire town, which is something I've never done before, and you don't hear about it often.
I don't think anyone has.
And then also you get to work with the local police and the local historian, and I felt like we really had a purpose there. Not only could we investigate, but then find out who we were dealing with afterwards, which is really awesome.
Sure. Now, we both saw the pilot, me and Eric, and we had the chance to watch it in its entirety, and it's very well put together, and I think everyone that's going to tune in on Sunday night will really be pleasantly surprised, because it's not your run-of-the-mill, lights-out paranormal show. There's a lot of history involved as well, which I like that aspect to it, because a lot of times the history gets glossed over a lot of things.
Oh, absolutely. And me having a background in history, I mean, the very first episode involves Antietam, and me being a Civil War reenactor, that's one of the places I reenacted a number of times. So I was really excited to get to go into, let alone the history of the actual battle and the aftermath and the stuff that brought the sick and wounded into Shepherdstown and its aftermath. I really love that angle.
I guess we'd be a little remiss if we didn't ask you both for a brief history of Shepherdstown. People aren't really familiar with it. How did it serve America in the Civil War, and what was its function, and of course, what is it today?
Elizabeth?
Oh, I was going to let you answer it because you have the best description of it.
I do. Okay.
I have a suggestion. I know you guys both tell it, and each speak every other word.
There you go.
There you go. Well, actually, Shepherdstown is the oldest town in all of West Virginia. And during the American Civil War, at that point, it was still Virginia, not West Virginia, because they hadn't succeeded back to the Union at that point. But it is directly across the Potomac River from Sharpsburg, or Battle of Antietam, depending on what side of the Mason-Dixon you like to discuss. During the battle, or mostly after the Battle of Antietam, every place in town, with the exception of one church, was used as a field hospital or a triage or a place, just basically a place to house the people who aren't going to make it. And they're talks of like blood running down the alleys and down the streets. As you've seen in the episode with the sweet shop, that was one of the main surgical hubs right after the battle. And the body parts that were just being thrown out the window repeatedly. I mean, you can just imagine it. There must have been like a mountain of them by the end of the day.
Just a willy-nilly threw them right out the window. Well, here's an arm, here's a leg. Throw it out the window. Mm-hmm. Wow, I couldn't imagine that.
Usually I give a finger here and there, but it's usually still attached.
Well, that's all right, as long as it's still attached.
Hobo arm.
Again, hobo arm. That's
back to the hobo arm.
Well, medicine back then, and Bill being a historian at heart, you could probably really speak to that. Wasn't exactly like it is today. I mean, it was still kind of a hit and miss art, wasn't it?
Well, if you were lucky enough to be one of the first ones in the door, you could have got some sort of anesthesia or a painkiller of some sort, whether it be just a shot of whiskey or something. Later on, you're biting the bullet or biting down on a stick. Cleanliness wasn't exactly a virtue for them then. I mean, it's documented that the surgeons, like, one guy comes off the table and they take the saw and they just wipe it off on their boot leg and right into the next leg they dig into. It's no real hardcore septic treatment. You know what I'm saying? A septic was not exactly a thing used then.
Yeah. Well, cleanliness was not necessarily next to godliness.
It's really hard to believe. I mean, that's only 150 years ago, and I mean, it was like a different universe. I mean, surgery was still it was very, very new in terms of how it was approached, and I think there was beginning to be some understanding of, or at least a concept of germs and what they might be involved with. But, of course, there was no antibiotics yet or anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, it was a matter of, if you were wounded, you were really lucky if you survived any kind of wound.
I was just about to ask.
You get an infection,
What was
That's why there were so many amputations.
Yeah, an infection counted for probably 3 out of every one person that died by a bullet wound. So you figure you got a greater chance of dying after your surgery or dying from an infection. Or in a lot of cases, a lot of these guys have never moved from town to town. So just the sanitary conditions of each town could give somebody, sepsis or something along those lines, where you can easily just die out from, the deadly poo.
Yeah, we take that such for granted today. I mean, how clean generally our hospitals are, although people still do get infections from time to time.
Oh, it happens all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah, but back then it was almost a guarantee you get something. I mean, some type of bacterial backlash from your surgery, it sounds like. It wasn't exactly, like I had said, it wasn't cleanliness that was not close to godliness back then, and they were more interested in speed rather than being clean.
Absolutely.
And plus the door. I mean, the line of people to be operated on this must have been just horrific.
Yeah, and you got to take into fact too that we're talking soft lead bullets versus the bullets that we had today with a full metal jacket. If you got hit on any of your limbs, it wasn't going through a bone; it was shattering.
Yeah.
So it almost always guaranteed an amputation.
Yep. Yeah, it wasn't. There was no clean through like they show in the movies. It was a bad deal, bad deal. And then of course the introduction of the mini ball really made things ugly. That ammunition made things horribly ugly.
Yeah, but between that and the rifled muskets, I mean, they were still all the way up until 1863 marching shoulder to shoulder in a Napoleonic tactic. Because they weren't used to the bullet reaching them that close, at a couple 100 yards versus 50 yards that you would have got with a smooth bore.
Yeah, exactly. Accuracy with a smooth bore is just not there. It was more of a fire and pray. And hopefully, whatever you're shooting at somewhere got hit somehow. That's why it was a volley. It wasn't a single shot.
Exactly. And that's why you think about the duels. I mean, you go 10 paces for each of them. By the time you turn, you're 20 paces apart, and you're shooting with smoothbore pistols. You probably still aren't going to hit anybody.
No, I've tried those in my youth. I
was actually just reading about duels because there was there's always these lists everywhere. Of course, so there's a list of the bloodiest dueling spots, and the reason dueling died out when it did was because the guns became accurate. People were used to being able to shoot and uphold their honor, and go through this whole ritual, and no one gets hurt.
Yeah, and they go home. They go have a drink together. Okay, we did it. All right, you shot at me, I shot at you. Everyone's okay.
Hey, guys, since this show is maybe an introduction to a lot of people, to a lot of viewers, to you guys as individuals, we'd love to hear, a little bit more about your background and just kind of, I gave the Reader's Digest version, but just how you came to this, and then how you were actually pulled directly into the show. I'd love to hear each of your kind of foundation tales, as it were.
Yeah, sure.
Ladies first.
Okay.
We need your origin story.
My what story?
Your origin story.
Oh, my origin.
Every superhero has one.
I heard something else.
No, that's the weekends. We don't care about Saturday nights, Elizabeth.
No, so yeah, I've had experiences for as long as I can remember, and it wasn't until that I moved into my apartment, coming down to work for the DOD down in Washington, D.C., that I started having more experiences, and that was about 5 years ago, and it got to the point where it was just a little ridiculous. And I was like, I have to do something about this. I've had experiences my whole life. I need some sort of validation for myself to make sure that I'm not crazy with the things that I'm experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked up some teams in the area, and I found Maryland Paranormal Research. And what I loved about them was that they were a very scientific-based team. Everybody in the group either was prior military or worked for the government. And I thought that was like right up my alley.
Sure.
So I started working with them, and I guess it was last year with the show. They Sergeant, well, he was Sergeant then, he's Chief now. Chief King came and tried to find, local investigators in the area. They approached my group, and they kind of yanked me out from it, and they yanked Bill as well, and brought us on.
Well, hello there.
Well, hey there,
yeah.
Bill.
There's a lot of yanking going on.
Yeah, there sure is.
A whole lot of yanking.
Yeah. Well, maybe we are talking about Saturday night after all.
We ain't faking.
Oh my God. So that's how I got involved in the show.
Interesting. Bill, how did you come on board? I mean, what was your kind of backstory, origin story?
Wait, I was on TV? No, for me, I could say that my earliest childhood memories growing up in Baltimore was that I was terrified of the basement of my house. I couldn't go down. I mean, I can remember being 6 or 7 and still having to have someone from my family kind of walk down with me, or at least go halfway down the steps so I could see their ankles, so I knew that they were there, because it was just this really foreboding, creepy feeling about it. And to be honest with you, a basement is going to be that for a lot of people. I mean, clients that I deal with now, you'll hear about basements being this or basements
all
being that.
All the time. It's in the basement. Yeah. I saw it.
It's in the basement, exactly.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of a sick joke from my parents, because my toys were always kept in the basement.
Those mean people.
So I'm
it's
pretty
like a home alarm.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty convinced my family hated me.
Oh my God, where's Christmas happening, Mom? In the basement. What? Santa Claus brought him out of the basement.
Remember when Kevin goes down in Home Alone and he finally says, "Shut up!" to the furnace? Remember? All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. So for me, it was like by the time I was about, hitting puberty, growing hair in funny places, starting to think about girls, starting to see the tall, thin, bald guy out of my peripheral vision, which really was concerning for all the rest of the stuff that was going on. But my mom, and now that where Elizabeth lives, she can relate, but, my mom was a hippie in the 60s. She smoked, Indian cigarettes, quote unquote, until the day she died. And they would bring friends over, and they would have a good old-fashioned Indian powwow in the living room, which I was told to go upstairs until the smoke subsided.
Or in the basement,
your choice. So seeing someone walk past my bedroom door that I wouldn't recognize was not an uncommon thing for me. So it didn't really register so much the first couple times. But then the first time when you're home by yourself and you're sitting there racking the old Atari 2600 and somebody walks by the door and there's
great times.
No one home. Oh, yeah. No one's home. You go and you look and no one's still home, but you know you saw somebody walk by the door. That started to worry me a little bit.
When I
was 13,
yes.
I was about 13 years old. I go to the bathroom, or need to go to the bathroom at 3 in the morning, open the bedroom door, and there was this tall, thin, bald guy standing in the hallway between me and the bathroom. And I'm thinking, yeah, I don't need to go that bad. I shut the door. I locked the door. I wait until the lights come up. I treated it very much like a vampire, standing outside the door. I figured the sun comes up, everything's good. Thanking God I had a big golf cup next to my bed and everything,
sure.
and that maintained a practice that I kept until I moved out.
No,
it did happen.
We call them
like
chamber
one more time
pots.
like that. A lot
You
of
are
times
forthcoming.
peripheral vision. Yeah, a lot of times, peripheral vision.
Sure.
When I was 17 years old, I found out from a local neighbor that a man who was tall, thin, and bald had killed himself in the basement, and that everything fell into place. So, one night when my mom wasn't, high as a kite or, had a little powwow, I kind of looked at her and I said, I really need to tell you something. And I'm thinking at 17 years old, I'm telling her that. Her first thought was, oh, God, he's coming out.
Yeah, yeah. Here comes the closet.
And yeah, exactly. So I told her I was seeing this tall, thin, bald guy, and I'd been seeing him for a number of years, and she just looked at me, threw in another smoke of her cigarette, gave me the Clint Eastwood stare for a second, waited for something fundamentally brilliant to come out, and all she said is, thank God you see him too. And that was it.
Wow.
That was all we ever said about it.
I was going to ask if you were a big fan of Phantasm.
Phantasm, yeah.
That tall, thin man. Wow,
and so I usually will describe the man as that just because of the M look, where he's standing and he looks over and he just goes, boy.
Yeah.
The guy didn't say boy, but it was everything except that. And most people, when I say Phantasm, they give me the quick blink and go, what are you talking about?
Oh, man, that guy scared me.
This movie.
Yes, that guy scared me. The Phantasm guy, the tall man.
He just died.
Scared the hell out of me. All right, it was and like you, man. I never saw the tall man like you did, but we all feared the tall man after we saw the movie. And you actually had
Scrim.
Yes, he was such a great actor, But I never dealt with it like you did. Now, did that impact? I mean, that had to mess with you a little bit psychologically. I mean, oh my God, it opened up a Pandora's box of what the hell's going on, right, Bill?
Oh, I was pretty much screwed from birth, so I don't think that really affected so much. But
I know the feeling.
It really legitimately was. It was a number of years after I had moved out. I got married to my first wife, and from that time period, I had no paranormal experiences whatsoever. And I always like to point out the fact that when you're married to Satan, that kind of is a guarantee anyway.
Well, sure. So, when you're living in the seventh layer of hell.
It wasn't until after I had lost both my mother, my grandfather, and my grandmother all in the span of like a year and a half or 2 years of each other. Yeah. And because my grandmother had always taken me to places like Manassas and Gettysburg and kind of instilled my love of history in me, I started going back to these places after she had passed. And that inevitably led me to going into Civil War reenacting. I started having experiences at different places, one place being in West Virginia, which was probably the part that really turned me from Civil War reenactor to paranormal investigator. And so ever since then, I started my team, the Greater Maryland Paranormal Society, in 2006, and we've been an on-call paranormal service ever since.
Very, very cool story. Very interesting.
Very lots of detail there. How did you become kind of the tech guy? How did that part come about?
Well, you would think about it, if you look at our backgrounds, you figure they would go. Elizabeth would be the main person because she's got all the wiring. She's building R2D2 in the back of the ambo. And all this stuff. I think mostly because she was both. She has that background in the electronic engineering. But she's also the sensitive, and they figured, hey, give me a role too, No, but seriously,
give me a role.
That I know I'm very intimately familiar with. So, and I think it was one of those things is like if someone needed a piece of equipment, I tend to have had it. I had it with me, and I could just pull it out and give it to them.
Sure. Sure. And wow,
that was a loaded answer. Let's
hey
go back to that one.
Hey, we love loaded answers. Hey, we got to run a break. We come back. We're going to talk to Elizabeth as well. Kind of dig deeper into her, what she's up to as well, and how you guys met Nick, and how you guys got on the show again, and
all that yanking,
all that yanking that happens around here. But we don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, this is Joel Sturgis, and did you know that After Hours AM and America's Most Haunted have a great new website out there? You're going to want to visit America's-most-haunted.com. There you can get all the new content from all the writers for America's Most Haunted, as well as the great haunted headlines everybody loves each and every week, as well as catch After Hours AM live right there, along with podcasts, past shows, and get to know your hosts, as well as contact us all in one stop. You're going to love it. You're not going to want to go anywhere else. So come to America's-most-haunted.com today.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
I got a rather serious problem over here.
All right, what are we looking at?
Cranky mother-in-law asleep on the couch in the man cave.
Dear God.
It gets worse.
That's impossible.
She's passed out on the remote.
I stand corrected.
What do I do?
Okay, I want you to grab a Torrent Big Red hydraulic bottle jack.
Okay.
Now you wedge that bad boy in under your mother-in-law and crank her up skyward.
It's working. And got the remote.
Great. Now grab that Torrent Big Red 2-ton folding shop crane and put that woman on wheels.
And away we go.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com. Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
What's happening, hot stuff?
Out the other.
And welcome back to After Hours AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, and of course, with me, as always,
Eric Olsen.
He didn't run away yet, is Eric. And we were, we're just going to continue our discussion, of course. Wow, Bill and Elizabeth and Bill, you guys are both very accomplished in your own rights. Now, Elizabeth, get kind of diving into your expertise as an electrical engineer. Now, do you develop any technology that is ever, that's used in the paranormal? Do you have really you're enthusiastic about that at all, furthering that kind of technology, or do you just kind of, say, hey, that's a cool gadget, but I could do better?
Yeah, actually, this past year, I've really focused on developing my own paranormal equipment, and I do it under the name Ghostly Gadgets. The first thing that I designed was the e-box that was actually used on Nick's show, Paranormal Lockdown. So
very cool.
Yeah, since then, I've just been, I caught the bug, and I just, every few weeks, I've started to create something new, so... Yeah, I definitely like to
that's super. Now, is it available to the public, your stuff?
Not yet. I'm going to wait a little bit. I think that I would like to make it available. I've had a lot of requests from people interested in getting it, but the thing is each piece is I like to make everything out of wood and make it kind of old school looking. I don't like to make it look super modern. So each piece takes like a lot of time to create.
Well, I would imagine all the wiring and all.
Yeah.
And the woodworking.
Yeah. And all the woodwork I do on it. So it does definitely take some time. I would like to get it to a place where, maybe there's a limited number that I sell to a group of people. But as of right now, I've just been creating them for Nick pretty much, especially for his season 2's coming up. So.
Okay. Very, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
What do some of these things do, and what was your inspiration?
Catch ghosts, man.
Yeah. So my inspiration was definitely, as a sensitive, I really like to create things that can validate my experiences that I'm having in the moment. So a lot of these devices react to environmental changes.
Okay.
So the e-box was a communication device that used capacitive sensing. So if anything got close to the box, you don't even have to touch the box. You just get close to it. It gives you one of the 4 responses: yes, no, hello, or goodbye. And then I also have a sensing digital recorder that if there's an EMF spike, if something passes over the box, or there's a change in temperature or humidity, it actually starts recording for 20 seconds, and it'll tell you which one of those sensors was triggered.
Now that's cool. I want to get me on that.
And then the GPS device that I just recently made, I made it out to be like a book. And that really is a geophone inside, so you could probably lay it somewhere on the ground and pick up footsteps. It also detects sound and temperature as well.
Wow!
I have things in the works that I'm not going to talk about.
Yeah, well, okay. What equipment? Because there's a lot of techies that listen to this show. In your opinion, that's currently available in the market. What piece of gadgetry is the most accurate right now to pick up the presence of a ghost, other than EMF detector? I'm talking about like REM pods, that kind of ilk. Is there anything out there that you would say, wow, that is pretty damn cool?
I mean, I want to say that there's other things that are better, but right now, just like I still feel like the digital recorder is a solid tool, because you are getting back intelligent responses, and it's not, that it's not being triggered by anything else.
Yeah. See, I'm a big EVP guy as well. EVPs rocks.
Bill.
I
feel like the other technology will eventually get there, but there's still so many unknowns. We don't yet know exactly what's triggering our devices, how ghosts can effectively communicate with us, and that just seems to be the best way to do it right now, unfortunately. But hopefully, we get to a place where it's more than that.
Well, at least you didn't stop and say, "Yeah, I love a good old Ouija board. That's what I love." At least you didn't do that.
Whoa.
We would have had a million emails.
He definitely has a problem with that.
I've had guests that stopped and said, "I love a good old fashioned Ouija board." What you talking about, homie? I mean, seriously,
God,
they're like Ouija boards.
The first and last time that I ever used one, and I'm just going to do a sneak peek for Sunday. It was on Ghosts of Shepherdstown. I will never use one again, and that was the first time that I ever used one.
Yeah, see, I don't put any stock in.
I don't like them.
Yeah. Bill, what do you think of the old talking spirit board thing? Because that is actually making its rounds again. I just got an email about people talking about how great they are. In fact,
I have 6 of them, but they're all framed and hanging up in my office. I'm currently sitting in.
Sure.
Yeah, Bill collects Ouija boards. He collects them.
Well, it's one thing to collect them, but use them in practice is a whole different thing, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, there's people who collect. Right. There's people who collect viruses. You know.
Yes. Here is Ebola.
They're called South Baltimoreans.
All right, Elizabeth. Another question for you. It just kind of struck me. No pun intended. I'd be very interested to hear about your run-ins with lightning, not once but twice. Wow. And did either of those incidents have any impact on your sensitivity?
Can I answer this real quick?
Sure. Yes.
Ever since you got struck by lightning the 2 times, I never had to worry about having a fresh charge on my battery.
Oh, man.
Touch this, please. Thank you.
Like Uncle Fester in the
exactly
in the Addams Family. Just put that light bulb right in your mouth.
Yep, there you go.
I'm not that freaky.
No?
Yeah. Oh. So tell us what happened.
Yeah, so the first time, I was actually, it's very cliche, I was in a golf tournament, and...
oh, Caddyshack, here we come.
Right, so I saw this storm rolling in, and I called up the clubhouse, and I said, should we mark our balls and come in? It looks like a storm's coming this way. They're like, no, you'll be fine. Just keep playing. I'm like, okay. So everybody goes to hit their second shot.
It's in
I
the
haven't
hole.
hit my second shot yet. All of a sudden it starts downpouring. I'm like, okay, I should probably mark my ball. I go down to mark my ball. I stand up, and then all of a sudden I see like streaks of light around my face. It's probably the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen.
Wow.
And then I don't remember anything. I remember waking up to a girl screaming, running at me, and my clubs were like, I don't know, like 30 feet from me.
Oh, geez.
And they were on my back. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was really. Luckily, I wasn't burned or anything. But that was pretty wild.
Did nobody ever see the movie Caddyshack?
Well, I have, of course.
Where that happens. You can be out there in the rain with a metal golf club in your hand.
I know.
Holding it up into the air. Yeah. Curse you. Curse you, rain.
Damn you, rain. Damn you.
One time I was reenacting, and I was at Cedar Creek, it was the Battle of Cedar Creek in Virginia. And we were about 2 miles from any place that had any kind of shelter. And I was, at the time, an officer. So I'm walking around guiding people with a sword in my hand. I'm watching lightning fly around, and I said, okay, I'm dead. I put the sword away and walked off. I knew enough to do that.
Well, that's a smart man, Bill.
Man, genius. That's why you were an officer.
That's right. That's why you're the tech master of the show, of course, this Sunday night. Ghosts of Shepherdstown.
So, Elizabeth, how did the second incident occur?
Okay, the second, and this is the crazy thing. I'm a firm believer that if you've been struck once, it is like attracted to you, because I've had a lot of close calls since then. But the second time, I had just moved into a new apartment in Queens, in New York, and I didn't have any of my furniture in yet, but I had my computer, so I set it up on the ledge. Big no-no. I set it up on the ledge. And I had this big, 8-foot by 10-foot window, and I was just sitting there. I was actually Skyping with somebody at the time, and all of a sudden the storm rolls in, and the bolt actually came through the window, through my computer, and through my hands. And the person on the other end just said that the frame froze with the craziest look on my face, my mouth wide open.
Did you go flying across the room? I mean, not to laugh
but
at it.
I couldn't move my hands for an hour.
Wow. That was one determined bolt of lightning right there.
Where was she at when Marty McFly needed to leave 1955?
Yeah. Really? Wow. We're going to get her. And it doesn't matter.
It kind of angled its way to you.
It did.
Well, we make light of it, but we're certainly glad that you weren't seriously injured or killed.
Exactly,
yeah.
and
that would have been bad.
Now, of course, you being a sensitive, I mean, what is?
Did it impact you in any way? I mean, sensitive wise.
Or Or the more important question is, didn't you see it coming?
She's not a clairvoyant, Bill.
I'm not a psychic, okay?
Oh, boy.
I'm definitely not psychic. I mean, but, it affected me in some weird ways. I don't know. I personally think it did.
No.
But because after that is when I got into electrical engineering. And,
sure.
I mean, I was very much like...
It sparked your
I didn't care
interest.
about school, and then I got struck by lightning, and then I went back to school for engineering. So it was weird sequence of events.
So
it was an epiphany.
It sparked your interest in electrical engineering.
The light bulb went off.
It did, right above her head.
It did.
But as a sensitive, when you're in a building, and of course, hearkening back to the show we watched, it really seems to physically impact you on that way. I mean, how does it feel for you, though, being a sensitive when you walk into a haunted location? What do you take on their way of feeling? I mean, how does that really work? Or would you consider yourself an empath more than a psychic?
Yeah, I would. So I've had psychic experiences. Like I've seen spirits. I've heard them. But I definitely would consider myself more empathic than, I mean, I'm definitely not psychic because I can't control it. I can't walk into a space and just start communicating with the spirit. It's very uncontrolled. But the one thing that's always been consistent is feeling the energy around me when I walk into a space. And for instance, when we were at the sweet shop, I mean, I think everybody saw up in the attic. It was the weirdest thing. I just remember walking, and then it was almost like I hit a wall, and I started feeling incredible vertigo. Like I thought I was going to fall over, and I don't really know what caused that, but I'm definitely affected by my environment that way. It just seems to like emotionally impact me, and then just physically as well.
Yeah. Wow. Because I met a lot of empaths / psychics and especially empaths. It almost looks like it drains them more than anything else. You feel sorry for the poor people once in a while. It's wow, all their energy's just gone all at once at times. Do you ever feel that way where you could just fall down?
Oh, absolutely. I've been on some more serious cases where I just, like, you literally start to feel like there's a cloud over your head and like you haven't slept in 5 days, and you just don't feel like yourself. So definitely there's been situations, especially more serious cases, where you are just exhausted. Like, you need to leave. You need to get out of the space just to feel normal again.
Do you ever get the hangover the next
absolutely.
day? The empath hangover, I've heard it's called. Do you get the hangover where you're so tired the next day you feel like you've been out boozing it all night?
When I think about it, no, actually. It usually leaves me after I leave the area.
Okay.
There's been rare occasions where it I would say, come home with me.
Oh, jeez. Come on home.
Yeah.
Got a room for you.
Rare. I protect myself pretty well.
Sure.
So that's pretty rare. But yeah, it's usually when I leave the space, I just feel like a totally different person. But in the moment, it can be quite draining if you let it be.
Well, I was told a story just recently by a colleague of mine, and she was at an investigation, and there was an empath present, and she was allowing, in her words, this entity, ghost, whatever, to suckle her energy out of her, and allowing it. Come feed off of me. Isn't that an extremely dangerous practice to allow, you don't know what the heck it is, to just come feed off you?
Oh, absolutely. I'm like really shocked to actually hear that.
Yeah, I was shocked too as well.
You don't know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, it shocked me when I heard this, and this is a fairly well-known group in Wisconsin that allowed this to actually happen to one of their team members. They let her just basically... She was allegedly drained of energy to the point where she could no longer walk.
Wow, that's really
ridiculous.
Scary.
Yeah, and I was curious as an empath. I mean, is that a normal thing? Because I'm not an empath. First one to say it, and I just thought, wow, that just seems extremely, extremely unprofessional to allow somebody to allow somebody to do that to themselves without stepping in.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just. I don't know. I would personally never do that because the problem is even it'll happen to you sometimes, even when you don't expect it. Even if you protect yourself, you're still at risk for that happening. So opening the door for an entity to do that, I mean, that's pretty scary stuff. You don't know where it could go from there.
Sure.
So,
hey guys, we are zipping through this hour pretty amazingly quickly, and we're down to the final 12 minutes. I'd love to hear anything you can tell us about the show, something that we're going to see, what we should be looking for, maybe even on subsequent episodes. Just anything you can give us a flavor of why should people tune into this show, my friends?
Well, we can figure out which episodes I'm investigating without pants. I think that's the first one.
Pants are optional on this one.
Exactly. I think just remembering the experiences that we had and all the things that we've seen, I think that people are going to watch it and are going to realize that with each passing episode, more and more strange and even harsher things happen, not just to the town, but to us.
Sure.
I know, and I think Elizabeth would agree with me on this, that all of us in one way or another was lightly touched by what happened in Shepherdstown and kind of changed us all a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, it did.
Yeah, definitely the show, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Eric, but definitely the show is different because I've never seen a police department be so open to the paranormal like this police department evidently is. Generally, they don't want to talk about it, but you guys really found yourself a town that embraces the paranormal.
It is amazing. It's an amazing thing, and I'm used to calling him Sergeant King, Chief King. It's a little hard for me to say. So I'm gonna have to, if I call him that, it's gonna be Chief Allah King, just so I can separate it up a little bit. But the fact that we got to sit down and not only talk with the police department, and a couple of us got to go on patrols with the police department, but the fact that we are in a certain way an offshoot of the police department while we're there working. And I still am waiting for my badge and gun, but just to have the ability to say that, let alone I'm in town, but I'm patrolling and answering calls with the police department. It was an amazing experience for me.
Yeah. I mean, Bill, being a skeptic, though, when you rolled into town, did you say to yourself, like you said earlier in the show, just kind of thought, oh, really, a whole town of crazies now?
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
So, and I will be honest with you, going into the first investigation, I was still thinking that. We're going through the sweet shop, and I'm thinking, all right, this is interesting, and this is definitely going to be probably the most interesting case we have, because I still can't fathom an entire town being haunted.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, by the last episode, I'm pretty sure if you would have stood me in the middle of town, blindfolded me, and spun me around, and wherever I stopped, where my finger's pointing would be the next investigation, I almost guarantee we'll find something at that place.
I mean, for you to say that as a healthy skeptic is saying something.
Oh, yeah.
I mean?
I've seen stuff and experienced stuff there that over the years, like I said, I've been investigating since 2006. I've had a lifetime of experiences before that with something weird or odd happening. Sure. And, it's just, for me, I sometimes find it hard to even say the words, that place was all haunted,
Yeah,
It doesn't come out right. It doesn't roll off the tongue for me, but I can't tell you, every place we went to, there was something had happened. And I know going into it, I'm like, all right, we're going to go into one place and film, and nothing's going to happen, and we're just going to stand around all day just looking in Nick's dreamy eyes and thinking about how nice it is and how nice his hair is slicked back and all. And
I was going to say, he is a good-looking young man now, isn't he?
He's a fine man.
Fine young. I've known Nick for so many years, it's not even funny, but and he's always been a very, very upstanding individual, and I've always enjoyed working with Nick through radio ties. And I'll tell you what, while you're working with Nick, and just like everybody else, you're probably, what was your first exposure to Nick's work? Of course, like me, was probably Ghost Adventures. Am I correct? The original documentary, and so now you're able to work with him. He brings a ton to the table. Now, that being said, when you heard you're going to be working with Nick Groff, were you kind of like a kid at Christmas?
Actually, it was just the opposite for me. Because he's Nick Groff. He's Mr. Ghost Adventures and all that stuff. And my first thought was, we're gonna work with Nick Groff. Oh God, he's gonna be some sort of like paranormal prima donna, and he's gonna strut around. And I made a career out of teasing him the entire time we filmed by calling him Lord Nick and talking about how while we had a shanty by the lake for us to live in, he was in a castle.
Boy,
so there was that kind of thing. But he really is a very down to earth, decent man, and he really, really is into looking into all aspects of the paranormal. And he's not one of those, I'm doing this for publicity, I'm doing this for TV.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to get to know Nick in a very, 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 very well over the years, and you're right. He's always been that way, and of course, Eric knows him as well personally, and he's always treated us just wonderfully.
Yeah, we were hanging out at the Nick Groff tour down at the Ohio State Reformatory, and that was a great day. Lots of fun, very interesting, really. And we always recommend go see the Nick Groff tour.
Absolutely.
Always interesting, lots of great guests, always a great investigation wherever you may be. Hey, that brings up kind of a final point. I know you can't give away too much. Well, I actually have two questions. Is this just a one season? Is this a one-off type thing, or will you be continuing with it? Is my first question.
Actually, I don't really. None of us know. I mean, I'm sure if they called us and asked us to go back or proceed to some other town, I'm sure we'd all jump on the opportunity, especially after experiencing what we did in Shepherdstown. But right now, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, when I left Shepherdstown at the end of the last investigation, that was a wrap for me.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a town, and you guys explore it and investigate it over the course of 6 episodes. So, I mean, that may be it. Now, here's my other question, and this is more open-ended, and I know, again, you have to be careful. You can't give away too much. I'm really curious, do you come up with any sort of overarching theme, or is this just a series of many disconnected incidents, or is there something going on that sort of colors the whole town?
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer.
Yeah, I will say that, investigating an entire town, I think it shocked all of us to find how connected all of our cases ended up being. And I'll just leave it at that.
And I'll end it with just using 2 words. B. Arthur.
B. Arthur.
The Golden Girls, huh? Wow, interesting.
Who knew?
I'll have to ponder that one.
It's a back ponder.
Thank you for being a friend.
Fascinating. So what's next for you guys? Barring
P. Arthur.
Additional visits to Shepherdstown, or maybe moving the series on to a new town even, or something along those lines. What's next for you guys individually?
For me, it's going back to work tomorrow and doing my 9 to 5 and gearing up for a pretty large investigation in Laurel, Maryland coming up as far as my team goes.
I was going to ask you guys during the investigation. We got a couple minutes, though. Has shooting this TV show, has this changed your life, or are you guys just the same people? Same job, same everything? It's just kind of a cool little side endeavor, rather.
That's all it is for me right now. I don't know about Elizabeth.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot more questions on a daily basis about the paranormal than I used to, which is really awesome. I love to talk to people about it. But
I do get the questions of, wow, you get to work with Elizabeth. Ooh.
Yeah, you're lucky.
I got a lot of that.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I'm not that cool. I'm pretty nerdy.
No, you are. And I tell people that. Apparently they don't care.
You make it clear.
I tell them. Right
because
up front.
You're forthcoming, as we have learned.
Yes, we have.
Well, I am the moral compass of our team, and I'm the quiet and shy one of the team. So, yeah, I feel
I can tell that.
Every once in a while just
be
a little more vocal, just to let them know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you're shy and retired.
Hey, Bill, man, you got to keep it real. You got to keep it real. Yeah,
got to keep it real, and I brought the sexy, as you've seen.
I saw that. Hey, you're bringing sexy back. What are you talking about?
You nothing and JT.
Nothing sexier than a fat guy in a vest sweating.
What is your job, Bill? What is your job?
Comedian.
I currently I work at the Westminster Hall and Burial Ground, which is the final resting place of Edgar Allan Poe. And I basically take care of the cemetery and the church and things of that nature.
Very cool.
Well, that's interesting.
Very cool. All right, Eric, though, we only got about a minute and a half left. Why don't we tell the fine folks how they can see the show?
Yes, well, it's on Destination America. It is this Sunday is the premiere. It will be at 10 o'clock. I guess that's Eastern and Pacific, and Mountain too, for that matter. And it's on 9 Central, and that will be Sunday nights. There will be 6 episodes. It's Nick Groff, Elizabeth Saint, Bill Hartley, and they are figuring out what the heck is down with Shepherdstown.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I'm going to tune in. I know you're going to tune in. Everyone's going to tune in.
Ooh, and we need to know how they can get a hold of Bill and Elizabeth. How can people track you down? Where might they
find you can find some of my offshoot work on RedTube. I always just tell people, just Google me. I mean, if you're on Facebook, just look me up. I'm all over the place.
Sure, absolutely. Eric, if you don't know what that is, I'll fill you in later. Everybody, thank you for listening. This is an edition of After Hours AM. And on behalf of myself, Joel Sturgis, and Mr. Eric Olsen, we absolutely adore each and every one of you. Keep the great emails coming. Keep all the listing coming. And again, you have made After Hours AM one of the number 1 shows of its kind. Again, thank you so much.
One of the number 1 shows.
Yeah. Absolutely, and we want to thank everyone for the bottom of our hearts, and we'd also like to thank our great guests, of course. That would be Mr. Bill, Miss Elizabeth. Thank you so much, Elizabeth Saint, Bill Hartley. He got me cracking up, but you know what? I am really thrilled for you guys, and everybody tune in to Destination America. Watch these fine folks. And until next time, love each other. Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.